Hey, this video contains spoilers for A Contract in Sol Forne, second book in the Eighth Chant series. Trigger warning, mentions of sexual assault. You have been warned.
初めての相手はジョジョではない!このディオだ!
A Contract in Sol Forne is the second installment in the Eighth Chant series, where an elf has to save the world while dealing with dumb humans. This brand of humans already existed long ago in Seasons of Alpedon, the prequel that I previously covered. Although each book can work as a standalone, which is neat, I recommend watching that video first, because both the review and the book are great, and they give you a good idea of what we're dealing with here. Spoiler, it's bad news. The Princess Bride might have made the phrase, "as you wish," all romantic and stuff, but trust me, it's not gonna be the case in this one. The book opens on the creation of a thought, capital T. Confused? Good, because me too. There seems to be these higher entities called the Thinking who turn out to be the origin of all thoughts. They manipulate them, move them around, and place them onto stones, trees, and such. The specific thought we care about is placed on a particular rock, which I assume means planet, but it doesn't want to be a stone or a tree. That would be silly. No, it wants to be free, and it manages to until the plan backfires. It teaches everything about its origin, its language, the thinking to the creatures roaming around, elven folk. It even tells them about other thoughts such as itself, and the elves have the ingenious idea of trapping those thoughts to use them as a source of power. Eventually, they trap it. It is now a djinn. The djinn only comes out of its prison, which I, of course, pictured to be a lamp, thanks Aladdin, when summoned and forced to grant wishes. Until the day a mysterious woman wishes for the djinn to be free. This was the prologue, and it's very abstract, to say the least. I had to go back and reread it after finishing the book, and it all suddenly made sense. I hope you could follow. If not, too bad. We're moving on. Psst. This is your chance to go read the book and or catch up with a prequel while you're at it. Our djinn is called Valen, and although she's now free to move around, she's still slave to her compulsion to grant people's wishes. This is exactly what she seeks to do in this next portion of the book that I like to call the tutorial. See, I wasn't convinced this would be our main storyline, as it doesn't take place in Sol Forne, and the title of the book literally has Sol Forne in it. But I thought maybe a key character here would make a comeback later once we do get to Sol Forne. Let me just tell you now, this doesn't happen. Unless it's planned for the next book in the series, I believe this is just a way to properly introduce us to Valen and what she's all about. Her goal right now is to satisfy her hunger. No snacks will do, unfortunately. Valen must fulfill contracts, or else she would basically die. We don't want this to happen for two reasons. One, Valen doesn't want to die. Fair. Two, if she dies, her life energy won't rejoin the cycle of nature as it's supposed to, which is bad. It's bad. More on that later. Back to the tutorial, I'll try to be quick. We're in Solway, a town that Thane Cuddington steals for himself. He erases everything about it, even its name. He has many enemies around here. So when Valen asks a local woman what it is that she wants the most, she says, "Thane Cuddington's head. Your wish is my command. Valen now has to kill a man." I expected her to use some magic, like, I don't know, snap her fingers and boom, it's done. But no, seems she has to go and actually do it with her own two hands. So what if I went, "Hey, make me rich. I want a ton of money right now." What would she do? Steal from Jeff Bezos or something? Authors, answer me. Valen hates killing, but this involves a blood pact. It's serious business. And her compulsion won't disappear unless she does it. In other words, she has no choice. She sneaks into Cuddington's home and finds a child. Yep, the Thane's son. He asks Valen to fix his toy.
Uh-oh! Ah! Ill-fated, I suppose.
The djinn says yes, but Sir Peric will, alas, never be fixed. Sir Peric, no! We still have to kill the child's tyrannic father, so we do it. Wait, no, we don't? Huh, somebody else just stole our kill. And you will never guess what I'm about to tell you. The child hired someone to kill his dad. What is he, like 5? At least the problem solved itself and we have the Thane's head, right? Wrong! Guess who just inherited the title of Thane and therefore reset the contract and needs to be killed? The child. This is only page 32. How dare you cause me such emotional distress? What do you mean, Thane Coddington's head? Say his full name, you dummy! It's all good. Both Valen and the hitman convinced the kid to give up his title, and we still have the dad's head. Now the contract is fulfilled. Valen has partial freedom, so compulsion, blood contract, a small break, rinse and repeat. Got it? Now buckle up, the real story starts here. As Valen makes her way to Sol Forne, we get introduced to a new character, Dorovan. I'm gonna call you Donovan. Or better yet, Don. Don is, the worst? Okay, no, let's start at the beginning. Don is a wannabe lord. His family gained nobility only to lose it in the end. His sister doesn't mind so much. She's a colorist. She's willing to color herself through life. But Don, he really hates the peasant life. So Don regularly goes prancing around in what awfully sounds like the capital from the Hunger Games. You know, colorful, over-the-top fashion show. And this poor guy clearly does not belong. But much like me in school, whenever I was openly mocked by the populace, he keeps going back for more. He doesn't seem to understand nobles don't like to mingle with filthy ex-nobles. That's just common sense. So I was baffled when the prettiest, most prominent lady around invited Don, of all people, to a big event for him to show off his skills, and he was happy about it. Can't you see it's a trap, dingus? Sometimes I thank my trust issues. Don practices what he thinks is an incredible rapier-waving number for Sol Forne's Got Talent. Imagine his surprise when he gets there and he finds himself in an arena full of buff, terrifying fighters ready to duel. Not to show off their pretty swords, to duel! Possibly kill. At least they're not making actual children fight. Wait, how old is Don again? Because he sure acts and thinks like a child. Long story short, he gets his butt severely whooped and loses a couple fingers along with his dignity. I think we can all agree at this point, Don's an idiot. No wonder his sister kicked him out. He's not just a clown, he's the entire circus! Perhaps his only hope is a contract with Valen. Speaking of, she just got to Sol Forne. She visits a few taverns, meets with a couple people, and hold on, is that a Stormlight reference? Anyway, Don is there. He overhears her and they end up sharing a room. Yeah, it sounds weird said like this, but it's because I sped up the whole process. Valen is hungry and Don needs a place for the night, so it's a win-win. Time for the contract because yes, it's no surprise this would happen. The surprise is what Don wishes for. Don asks for a job. Now, given what I told you so far about this guy, you must be thinking, wow, that sounds very much out of character. And you would be right. Although I did consider for a split second that Don had a wake-up call, it turns out he just didn't believe Valen. And hey, I don't blame him for this one. I would have been skeptical too. But friendly tip, if anybody promises you to grant your wildest wish, make sure to pick a good one. It might be legit and you'd look awfully dumb like Don over here for not taking it seriously. Ask to regain your noble title! I don't know how she possibly could achieve that, but it's worth trying. While Don is performing poorly at his job and hating every second of it, Valen goes to the academia to retrieve the artifact she needs to free herself from her djinn enslavement and end the breaking of the cycle of nature. Except, well, now that we're here, the artifact is gone. Who saw it coming? I sure did. But we're far from seeing the end of our problems. Look, we just added one to our stack. Another one of Don's genius ideas. So far, Don has been nothing but a little piece of crap. But mostly a harmless little piece of crap. Aside from that time he hurt his sister's feelings enough to be evicted, or that other time he got his own fingers cut off, or the rest of the time he spends ruining his own life. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is, Don isn't the most awful person I've ever read about. But we got really close to it just now. You see, Don is pretty unhappy with his wish and he wants to make a new one. So in the middle of the night, while everyone's asleep, he sneaks into Valen's room. I won't get into detail here, just know he made a new wish. Valen wakes up in panic, but it's too late. Just as I was trying to keep my stomach from emptying all over my sheets, Valen expresses my thoughts exactly. This is akin to rape. It isn't just about Don touching her while she's asleep, which is already awful enough to give me nightmares. There's also this additional layer of making a contract without her consent. In other words, taking away the one choice, the one freedom she's ever had. Not a fan of that, or of SA, so I was very happy when she launched him across the room and strangled him a bit. Not long enough for my taste. That being said, I will also hold Valen accountable. Remember that first contract with the woman in Solway? And then the contract with Dunham himself. In both instances, and probably with many contracts before these, Valen forced them to it. That's right, she cherry-picks unsuspecting, weak individuals, sweet-talks them into trusting her enough only to visit them at night to complete the blood contract. I find it interesting how quick I was to lash out at Dunn when Valen is guilty of the exact same thing. I suppose the reason is that the first was motivated by selfishness while the latter was by necessity. Dunn could keep his job and lead an honest life. Valen can't afford having people turn her down all the time when she needs these contracts to stay alive and keep nature alive. But there must be another way, for both. And I do not wish to create a double standard here. So Dunn, Valen, both of you, jail! Anyway, back to Dunn's case. Is he insufferable? Yes. Do I feel bad for him? Yes. Do I want to slap him? You guessed it, yes. But perhaps I'm supposed to hate him before I warm up to him becoming the most valiant of heroes, with the help of the one-sided contract. You heard that right, he wished to become a hero just now. My hope was already in the negatives, but now has simply vanished. Let's ignore how vague that wish was, or the implication that this man-child is probably gonna save the cycle of nature, which I'm gonna be mad about, and let us move on. We take on side quests of catching thieves and scammers to desperately teach Dunn to become a hero. He does not. But at least we meet Hugo from the prequel. I wonder if there are more returnee characters I didn't catch. While all this is happening, a group called the Blue Scarabs is taking control of the city. To protect the people, they say. I, for some reason, believed in their motivation, but the more time passed, the more I had this creeping feeling that something wasn't quite right. Just look at their master. Very mysterious. Is he even human? I doubt it, because he uses a vessel, or a projection of sorts, to attend a banquet. Too sly to be trusted. Speaking of banquets, we're invited! At the dinner table, Valen is told by Edgar the Master that her artifact is being transported out of the city right now. He's been lying a lot for the past 10 minutes. His very presence is a lie. Surely this is just another one. Right, Valen? Valen? Are you really leaving right now to go after a decoy carriage and fall into an obvious trap? I can't believe she fell for this. Dunn is meanwhile being recruited by the bad guys. The Blue Scarabs? I assume they're bad guys. The way Edgar the Master just disrespected a full table of nobles is straight up evil. After this, there's a whole lot of running and point of view jumping, so let's skip to the important stuff and hope I make sense. Sol Forne's port. Blue Scarabs all over the place. The precious artifact is here. But what is this artifact anyway? Valen created it to lock away a piece of her life energy so that ancient elven folk could use it for science. But they quickly realized they couldn't access the severed energy without Valen herself, so they sealed her to the artifact to indirectly control it and her, since she had to obey all their whims as a result. Even without the elves around anymore, Valen has to fulfill contracts to keep the sealed energy from dissipating and therefore never joining back the cycle of nature. The blue bugs are now basically making the same mistakes all over again, and their whole argument is using the power to free people from war, death, and sickness. So I see, you guys aren't bad, you're just misguided. And dumb. You can get rid of war, love that. But death? Yes, go ahead and make everybody immortal. I'm sure that's gonna go smoothly. Unfortunately, Valen is captured and brought over so Rena, the Blue Bug's powerful enchantress, can conduct a ritual using the Jinn's pure life energy. Rena knows how dangerous this is, but she wants to make her Edgar master proud, so she chugs Valen's blood like there's no tomorrow. Funny I should say that, actually. With a supplement of black water, which I still believe is simply oil. Disgusted much? Until the very end I kept thinking, she's gonna have a change of heart. She's smarter than this. Nope. Rena performs the ritual and seals herself to a power her body can't contain. She screams, "I seal you! I seal you to my will!" And then something weird happens and then she dies. It's even more tragic because Edgar Master is the one that drops her in the water to drown, and then he dies! Well, his vessel at least. What a mess. What about the artifact though? Dunn snatched it for the blue bugs and ran away. Always here to make it worse, this one. Valen finds him quick. He's terrible at hide and seek. She threatens him, he threatens her with the sheer power of his stubbornness. But they get interrupted by a blue bug that's decided to get rid of Valen. Fight ensues while Dunn just stands there. He wakes up eventually and goes, "You know what? I'm gonna do something." So right before the blue bug stabs Valen in the face, Dunn throws the artifact and ends up getting stabbed instead. And wouldn't you believe it, the seal is broken. Valen is now finally free thanks to Don. Is this the moment he finally turned to a hero? The answer is yes, and Valen knows it, but she never tells him. It's like, holy crap, she never tells him that their contract was fulfilled the moment that artifact got shattered. Instead, she slaps him real hard. Oh! Valen, that was my one wish, thank you so much! Valen lands one last blow. I have decided to never forgive you. Wow, I got goosebumps. This might sound weird, but I really like the way they never truly got along. Normally, you'd expect two characters who are at odds with each other to get a better dynamic by the end. Although there were moments where Don and Valen had a good thought about each other, they never became besties. And it's refreshing? I'm so glad we're not on Wattpad. This would have turned enemies to lovers real quick. Blech. And this, my friends, marks the endgame. Don is scooped up by his sister, but he chooses to leave the city instead. He still wants to pursue his hero dream, and he thinks people will be happier without him. Honestly, I still don't like Don, but at least I don't hate him anymore, and he realizes he messed up. GG for that teeny tiny redemption. Rena is dead, or rather, her physical body is dead. She still exists in another creature's body. I skipped this bit earlier, but Rena managed to seal a mer to her, and when she died, the two fused together? At least that's what I think happened. Valen is enjoying her freedom and giving her precious history knowledge to the academia. More interestingly, she visits the burned forest of Albadon, and that's when I randomly wondered, what even is an 8th chant? What happened to chants 1 to 7? I must investigate. Right on time, the answer presented itself to me. Life, power, bind in, seal in, ward in, guidance, and the 8th chant requiring something to turn into life energy, unity. And that something is Valen's immortality. Yep, I was astonished when she gave that up in exchange of reviving the forest. Now this is a hero. The last point of view is that of an unknown child that's lost in a forest and has a random woman walk her home because there's a witch lurking around. Yes, I know, I have no answer as to what the either. The child's mother, notice capital M, opens the door and lets them in. The child goes to fetch some wood for dinner and comes back to mother dragging the woman's dead body outside. Is that what's gonna be in her stew? Not important. The child's name is revealed to be Sesha. Who the hell is Sesha? I am fairly certain this name came up earlier in the book, and I've been flipping random pages hoping it would jump at me to no avail. So please, tell me who Sesha is supposed to be. I am going insane over here. You know who else is likely insane? Mother. I mean, if you keep feeding your soul with such good fertilizer, maybe the cycle of nature will hold for a bit longer. Yay? Whew, this was a whole lot to unpack, and guys, I didn't even take the time to discuss everything. I glossed over quite a few things and skipped others. Just one example is poor Rena, who's more developed as a character than what I let on. Trust me, this book is quite rich and eventful for its 400 pages. It's kinda impressive. I didn't realize it until I was done, but this might be it. Goodreads says it's a standalone, and seeing that quite satisfying ended, yeah, I'll accept it. I just have a couple questions. Who's the mysterious woman that semi-freed Valen in the prologue? Am I supposed to have pieced it together by now? What is Egger aside from Egger Master? Surely he's not a normal person. And for the love of all that is yummy, who is Sesha? Well, that was fun. Just as chaotic as the prequel and just as well written. And both books make me appreciate the birds eating their seeds outside my window even more. Anyway, tell me, what would you wish for? Please don't spill any blood over my comment section and just use your words. Thanks.